Let's get really practical now about the most important microphone on our stage, our pastor's mic. In this scenario, we're going to work on a head-worn microphone.
Great. So we're not talking about feedback here. This for a different topic. This is just the sound of the microphone.
Yeah.
Because we don't have a big PA. We don't have him here to demonstrate feedback. We're not talking about that. This is just the tonality of his voice in the mic. Because sometimes our host walks out on stage and the band is still playing. So we've got to deal with things like, okay, is there any low end from the room that's getting in that? Is there a sound of a keyboard or something that we have to deal with in our broadcast mix?
Yeah.
What are the things that we're going to try to first and foremost, kind of clean up in the tonality? So let's listen to what we've got.
Okay.
This is a host moment after a worship set. So you're going to hear some music in the background.
And I believe he's worthy, but it really it shouldn't matter
Got
what
some
I
low
believe.
end.
What
I
matters
hear a
is
lot
what
of
do
low
you
end
think?
from the keyboard.
What do you think about who
So
Jesus
EQ
is
first,
and about
then.
what he's
Absolutely.
done?
Start with a high
Because
pass filter.
I believe that
High pass
the
filter.
next rational thought, if you believe he's worthy, if you believe that, because
most
he
of the
defeated
keyboard
death,
sound went away
because
just
he's
from that.
resurrected from
And
the
that's
dead.
150 hertz, high pass filter, and there's not enough of that in his voice to even matter.
It didn't
Doesn't
affect
really
the tone
change.
at all.
No.
No.
Yeah.
It really it shouldn't matter what I believe. What matters
what else
is what do you
EQ-wise?
think?
Man, here's
What
the
do you
thing.
think about
so
who Jesus
a lot of these
is and about
high-end
what he's
headset
done?
mics really do
Because
sound
I
good.
believe that
Yeah.
Like, there's
the
not
next
a lot
rational
wrong with
thought,
that,
If you believe
but sometimes
he's
when you
worthy,
start
if you
doing
believe
a few
that,
dips of just
because he defeated
some areas
death,
that you
because
might
he's
just know are
resurrected from the dead,
going to give you
if
some
believe
issues
he's
later or might
alive,
just improve things,
well,
it's helpful.
listen,
Yeah.
So like
I
for me, I
believe
usually
he's
always
worthy,
take
but
some
it
kind of a
really
low
shouldn't
mid
matter what I believe.
thing
What
out of
matters is
there.
what
Like
you
300 or so.
Yeah, or
What do you
250,
think about who
300, somewhere like
Jesus
that,
is
and
about
just
what
see
he's
what it
done?
does.
Let's
And it
try
usually
that.
makes
Because
the
I
tone
believe that
clearer.
the next rational thought, if you believe he's worthy, if you believe that, because he
That smoothed
defeated
it out
death,
quite a bit.
because
And it
he's
just made it
resurrected
easier
from the
to
dead,
understand a
if
little
you
bit.
believe he's alive,
Now some of that
well,
honky.
listen,
nasally.
Yeah.
I believe he's
1K,
worthy, but it
1K
really,
is
somewhere in there.
shouldn't matter
Okay, so
what
let's
I
maybe
believe. What matters is what
Right
do you
around
think?
1K.
Maybe
What do you
boost
think
it so we
about
can
who
hear
Jesus
it.
Okay,
is,
sure.
about
Exaggerate
what
that.
he's done?
Yeah.
Because I believe that the
So
next
that-
rational thought, if
And
you
here's what's
believe he's
interesting
worthy,
about a
if you
headset
believe
mic.
that, because he defeated death, because
Oh,
he's
see, that's
resurrected
nice.
from the dead.
Some things
if believe he's
sometimes you hear a
alive,
headset mic and go,
well,
again,
listen,
that sounds really good.
I
You listen to it for 40 minutes or 30 minutes,
Right.
and all of a sudden dropping that 1K, it lessens the fatigue of just listening to the one thing
That's
over
a
and over and
great
over.
point.
And
And
that's
some of that might not be exactly 1K depending on the voice.
Might be 2K.
But that mid thing is
right.
what you're talking about.
And that's a nice thing to remember on these is most headset mics, you can do that to and go, wow, that's an immediate improvement, even if it came out sounding pretty good.
Now this example is a pretty smooth delivery, but we have some speakers who are all over the map
Yeah.
in terms of volume, and they get excited and then they get real soft. So how can we use compression on a headset mic to really help with the tonality?
This is a big deal. We know that speakers like to be dynamic,
Yeah.
and we even want to allow some dynamic, but just in the timbre and tone of the voice,
Yeah.
dynamics get communicated. When someone's raising their voice, there's more energy, and when someone's really quiet, obviously that portrays lower energy. But this can really make the sound of this microphone go to the next level. Using compression and really keeping everything tight makes the quieter moments sound more quiet without being quieter in
Right.
volume,
Yep.
and even can make the louder moments feel like they have more energy without making people jump out of their seats.
Good.
When I think about it, I think about trying to whenever I put compression on a headset mic, I feel like I'm adding some authority to the way the sound comes across in the
Absolutely.
room. And when someone's standing on stage presenting, conveying authority and having that authoritative feel in their voice is kind of a big deal.
It is.
That's really
So it's
cool.
kind of nice to address that
So
way.
it's almost like we're able to partner with them in their delivery by how we're shaping the tonality.
help support what's happening.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So this
where
one's
would you start?
It's a lot more art than science here.
Yep.
But you really want to go a little higher on the ratio than you probably are comfortable
I
with,
agree.
right?
Yep.
So somewhere in 4 to 6.
Because
turn it
he
on.
Around
defeated
there.
death,
We're
because
going to
he's
go to a
resurrected
ratio
from
of,
the
let's
dead,
say, start at
if you
maybe
believe
5 to
he's
1.
alive,
Sure.
Well,
Now, attack and
listen,
release,
I believe
super fast.
he's worthy,
Man,
but it
I
really,
love so
it shouldn't
fast that
matter
you almost
what I
can't
believe. What
tell
matters
it's
is what do
working.
you
Yep.
think? What do you think
you
about
really,
who
this is one where
Jesus
you
is
kind of
and about
do
what
have to
he's
rely on the
done?
meter to see how
Because
fast it's going to
I
work.
believe that the next
That's
rational
true.
thought, if
So
you believe
there's one
he's
more
worthy,
trick to
if you
this.
believe
When you
that,
go super fast on attack and
because
release,
he defeated death,
right
because
now
he's
we can hear
resurrected
it
from the
working
dead,
Yes.
because
if
when
you
it
believe
hits that
he's
hard
alive,
ratio, It's
Well,
like it's an
listen,
immediate cut into
I
that.
believe
right.
he's
So there's
worthy,
something on a
but it
compressor
really,
called the
it
knee.
shouldn't matter what
Maybe
I
some
believe.
people don't know what
matters
that
What
is.
do you think?
Let's take a second to explain that. Basically, if you think about the line of the threshold as it approaches where the threshold is and the ratio, a 6-to-1 is a pretty hard angle, right? That break in the line is the knee.
It's an edge.
It is an edge.
Yeah.
So right now we have high ratio, fast attack, fast release. That's a really, really hard edge.
And the
Right.
knee is set to hard.
right.
So it's going to be a very
Yeah.
Yep.
You will hear it.
discernible sound.
Right.
So-
So let's soften that a little bit.
Right.
And that takes that angle and just curves it a little
Yes.
bit.
What you're really doing is it's easing into compression a few dB before the threshold is actually telling it to.
That's great.
So it's actually starting at 1.1 to 1, 1.2 to 1, 1.3 to 1, all the way into 6 to 1
Yeah.
by the time we get there.
That's great.
What do you think about who Jesus is and about what he's done?
Now I'll tell you
Because
that
I believe that the next
You set that at
rational
5 to
thought,
1?
if you believe he's worthy, if you
I am-
believe
Go
that,
heavier, wouldn't you?
Man, I
because
would.
he
Just
defeated
so
death,
you
because
don't
he's
risk
resurrected
the
from
push
the
and
dead,
pull you might
if you
hear
believe he's alive,
from 4 or 5 to 1.
well,
So more like a
listen,
limiter.
More like
I
a limiter,
believe he's
yeah.
worthy, but it really
What
it
happens is
shouldn't
when you
matter
do that,
what
you
I
can
believe. What
still
matters is
allow
what do you
some
think?
dynamics in there.
Yeah.
What do you think
Just
about
by
who
controlling
Jesus
your
is and about
threshold.
what he's done? Because I believe that the next rational
The knee,
thought,
though, is
if
crazy
you
because when
believe
he gets
it
to
is.
6
if
to
you believe
1,
that, yeah,
you don't even hear it.
because he
All right,
defeated
6 dB
death,
of
because he's
compression,
resurrected
sorry.
from the dead.
6 dB of
if
gain
you believe
reduction.
He's alive.
You don't even hear it.
Well, listen,
Like, to me,
I believe
this
he's
sounds
worthy, but
way
it
better
really,
to an
it
already
shouldn't matter
great sounding
what I
mic.
believe. What matters
Right.
is what do
This
you
sounds
think?
a lot better to me.
What do you
Yep.
think about who Jesus is?
You
and
hear
about
more
what
of the
he's
breath
done?
and articulation
Because
and what
I
he's
believe
saying
that
already.
And maybe
next
the emotion
rational
of
thought,
how he's
if you
communicating.
believe he's worthy,
And if he
you
got to a
believe
point
that,
where he's talking
it-
quieter or
because
talking
he
louder,
defeated
it gets
death,
exaggerated
because he's
even more.
resurrected
Yeah.
from the dead.
I like that a lot.